across the border with their message of hate and greed and envy and fear. There weren't very many black people in Saskatchewan for them to hate, but they hated the Poles, and they hated the Ukrainians, and they hated the other people who were coming to Western Canada from Eastern Europe. They hated the Catholics, and they hated the Jews, and they hated the Indians, and they hated the Métis. It was a philosophy based upon hate. And they propped up a neo-conservative right-wing group in Saskatchewan, and they won the election in 1929. They defeated Jimmy Gardner's Liberal Party, and they brought in a party that was essentially supported by the Klan. Well, it would have been very easy for Jimmy Gardner back in those days just to say, well, I'm going to give up. I'm not going to try to fight back against this crowd. They're just too much for me. But Gardner would not accept defeat. Gardner was determined to fight back. And he went out and he sold the memberships. And he raised the money. And he raised the morale of the party. And he recruited new people. And he developed a whole new platform with fresh new ideas for the future. And in 1934, he drove the Klan out of the government of Saskatchewan, and he drove the Klan out of the province of Saskatchewan, and re-elected a Liberal administration. And 2 years later, he worked with Mackenzie King to defeat the Bennett government and re-elect a very strong Liberal government in Ottawa, and he went on to be the longest-serving, most successful federal Minister of Agriculture in Canadian history. And that was the result of Jimmy Gardner's attitude. He was not going to be defeated. And you know, if you read Gardner's speeches from the late 20s and the early 1930s, and they're all in the archives, you can go and read them. And they are speeches about civil rights, and human rights, and inclusion, and tolerance, and diversity, and about how we respect each other and live together in harmony. And you know, you hear echoes in those speeches of what Pierre Elliott Trudeau was talking about in the 1980s when he repatriated the Constitution and gave Canada the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. Gardner was just 50 years ahead of his time. But you see the link in what it means to be a Liberal, in what Gardner stood for in fighting the Klan and standing up for human rights and civil rights in rural Saskatchewan in 1929. And how that thread flows through the Liberal Party right up into our present-day heritage as we are the party of the Charter and the party of the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. It's a very important and powerful story. And Pearson faced adversity after the Diefenbaker sweep, and he came back. Mr. Trudeau faced adversity, and he bounced back. Chrétien and Martin faced a difficult situation in the 1980s. They put the team together and they won the election in 1993 and went on to government, Liberal government after Liberal government after Liberal government. It was a great demonstration of Liberal tenacity. And it all goes back to the same five things, whether it's Gardner or Pearson or Trudeau or whoever. It's sell the memberships, raise the money, raise morale in the party, go out and recruit new people, bring new people into the cause, and develop that platform of new ideas for the future of this country. And it works. It works, and Liberals are able to bounce back from adversity, because that Liberal idea of inclusion, accommodation, working with people, pulling people together, trying to develop a common vision, that's an idea that fits pretty well with what this country is all about and has been all about for many